Chicago, Illinois, September 2012. Midnight. Michael Jordan's hands are trembling. The leather-bound journal sits in his palms as if it weighs 1,000 pounds. His father, James Jordan's handwriting, that familiar script, slightly slanted to the right, every letter drawn with care, fills the pages. 19 years. For 19 years, he had no idea this journal even existed. Shadows dance in the pale light filtering through Chicago's night glow. The floor-to-ceiling windows of his 73rd floor penthouse watch the city's pulse from a distance. But Michael sees none of it. All he sees is the leather cover in his hands. And on the first page, a single sentence written in his father's hand. If you're reading this, Michael, that means I'm gone. And that means your mother finally decided to give it to you. This journal is for you. It always was. But you needed to be ready to learn certain truths. Now you're ready. Michael's throat tightens. His fingers turn the page. He looks at the date, May 23rd, 1984, 3 weeks before the draft. His heartbeat thunders in his ears. He begins to read. I didn't tell Michael today, but the Chicago Bulls called me, not just me. They said they wanted to hear the family's perspective, so I told them the truth. My son is going to be the greatest basketball player in the world, but there's something he needs to know. He's scared. He's scared of greatness, and if we leave him alone with his fear, he'll never reach where he's supposed to be. Michael freezes. He lifts his eyes and looks at the 6 NBA championship trophies on the wall, all 6 of them. They glimmer in silence. But right now, for the first time staring at them, he feels something different. He doesn't understand. How had his father known? How had he seen it? And more importantly, what else is in this journal? He turns the page, then another, and another. Every line shakes a little more of the life he thought he knew. Then he comes across a date, July 22nd, 1993, the day before his father was murdered. His heart stops. His breath cuts short. And as he stares at that page, he feels his hands begin to tremble, because on that page he reads this: Tomorrow I'm heading out on a trip. But before I go, I need to write down the things I never said to Michael, because if something happens to me, there are truths my son needs to know, and those truths will change everything. Michael's eyes lock onto the page. He keeps reading, and with every word he reads, he feels that not just the past, but the future too, is being rewritten. What happened wasn't just a son losing his father. What happened was a story the world never knew. And tonight, Michael Jordan begins to learn that story. Everything he learns will change his legacy forever. Hold on, I need to stop here for a second. To keep sharing stories like this, I need your support. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. That's how you tell YouTube you love these stories. And that's how I can keep bringing you more. Thank you for being here. A late letter from Brooklyn. The journal feels like a living thing in Michael's hands. With every page he turns, his father's voice echoes in his ears. That deep, calm, always controlled voice. But the voice hidden between these pages is different, more fragile, more human. The silence of the penthouse is suffocating. Outside, Chicago's traffic continues as a distant hum. But on this floor, in this room, time feels like it's standing still. Michael reaches for the journal's pages again. He looks at the date, February 17th, 1963. Dolores is pregnant, our 4th child. In this little apartment in Brooklyn, I don't know how we're going to manage. But one thing I do know, this child is going to be special. Has to be. Because here, in this city, we're fighting just to survive. But this child needs to fight for something else. Michael takes a deep breath. Brooklyn. His father always talked about Brooklyn, but the details were always vague. Hard times, he used to say, but it brought you all here. The journal tells another story. Darker, more real. He turns the page. Today I got fired. Why? A customer, a white man, called me the N-word while I was repairing equipment. I looked at him. Just looked at him. My boss called me in. Jordan, you can't cause trouble here, he said. But I didn't do anything, I said. But you could have, he said. Michael's jaw tightens. He didn't know this. His father had never told this story. Dolores cried tonight. What are we going to do, James? She said. I don't know, I told her. But I know one thing. I don't want the child coming into this world to bend and break the way I have. I have to give him a different world. Or at the very least, teach him to fight for a different one. Michael closes his eyes. He combs through his memories. Himself as a small boy. His father coming home, tired but always smiling. Always trying to spend time with him. Playing baseball. Going to the basketball court. But now he understands. His father wasn't just spending time with him. He was building him, deliberately, strategically, like an architect, carefully placing every stone. As he moves through the pages, a slip of paper falls out, yellowed, edges curled. Michael bends down and picks it up. His father's handwriting. Save this to show Michael. A man must teach his son this. Defeat is not the end. On the contrary, every defeat is a new beginning. Michael holds that note in his palm. He feels the texture of the paper beneath his fingers. Tears begin to stream down his face. But he keeps turning the pages, because there is so much more he needs to know, and his father had prepared him for this. With every word, every lesson, every silent sacrifice. 1982. The hidden lesson in the high school game. The journal jumps to 1982. Michael is beginning to shine as a star at Laney High School. But what his father wrote about that time is very different from the story everyone knows. Date: March 14th, 1982. Today I watched Michael's game. He scored 38 points. Looked like something extraordinary. But you know what I saw? Fear. In the last 2 minutes of the game, when he had the ball in his hands, he hesitated for a second. Just 1 second, but I saw it. And I know that hesitation is what's going to keep him from greatness. Beads of sweat had formed on Michael's forehead. He remembers that game. It was the district final game. They had won. But his father doesn't talk about the victory. After the game, I pulled him aside. "Why did you do that?" I said. "Do what?" he said. "In the last 2 minutes, you didn't push the ball. You were scared." His eyes went wide. "I wasn't scared, Dad," he said. "You were scared," I said, "because you knew you could win. And you knew that once you did, the next game would be harder. What you were afraid of wasn't losing, Michael. What you were afraid of was never being able to stop." Michael takes a deep breath. He remembers that conversation, his father's voice. Those words had seemed meaningless at the time. Now, everything is becoming clear. Michael looked at me. "What should I do?" he said. "You have to embrace the fear," I said, "because greatness isn't being fearless. Greatness is using fear as fuel." The page turns. He looks at the date. March 29th, 1982, 2 weeks later. It was the championship game. I looked into Michael's eyes. This time, that hesitation was gone. This time, there was only fire. He scored 45 points, and in the final second, he hit the shot that won the championship. But before the ball went in, he looked at me, and in his eyes, I saw it. "I understand, Dad." Michael's hands are trembling. He remembers that final shot, the silence of the arena, the ball leaving his hands, the way it floated through the air, and in that moment, he remembers looking toward where his father sat in the stands. His father's eyes, that knowing look. Now he understands. That look wasn't just between a father and his son. That look was an architect gazing at his work, a teacher looking at his student, a visionary watching his vision come to life. But there's another line in the journal, and this line freezes every inch of Michael's body. I didn't tell Michael today, but there's a pain in my heart. I went to the doctor. He didn't say anything, but I know. My body is getting older, and my time is running short. That's why every single day, I have to teach Michael everything I possibly can. Because one day, I won't be here, and he'll be left on his own. Michael holds his breath. His father had known. He had known back in 1982. He may not have known he would die 11 years later, but he knew his time was limited. And he was leaving every lesson, every conversation, every moment as a legacy. He closes the page. He rubs his eyes. But he knows he has to keep going, because the truth had not yet been fully revealed. North Carolina, the shadow player of the Dream Team, University of North Carolina. Michael Jordan had won the NCAA championship and was preparing to enter the NBA draft. But the journal tells things about that period very differently. Date: June 3rd, 1984. Today, Michael and I had a long conversation, a week before the NBA draft. He said to me, "Dad, are you ready for today?" I laughed. "Am I ready? Are you ready?" I said. "I don't know," he said. For the first time, I heard such tremendous vulnerability in my son's voice. Michael remembers that conversation. The backyard of the house in Wilmington. They had sat side by side. The sun was setting. That conversation had always held a special place in his memory. But in his father's journal, there's more to that conversation. Michael said to me, "Dad, I know you always wanted baseball for me. I know, but I chose basketball. And now I'm scared. Because what if I'm crushing your dreams?" My heart broke. Because Michael was right. Yes, I had wanted him to play baseball. When he was little, we played baseball every single day. My dream was to see him become a baseball star. But that day I told him, Michael, my dreams aren't your dreams. Do whatever you want. And if you want basketball, go and be the best in the world, because you are someone who can be the best. Michael's eyes are filled with tears. His father had never spoken this openly. Never. But in the journal, everything is written. Every feeling, every thought, every sacrifice. The page turns. Date: June 19th, 1984, draft day. Portland Trailblazers didn't pick Michael. They picked Sam Bowie. Houston Rockets picked Hakeem Olajuwon. And then, Chicago Bulls, 3rd overall. They picked Michael. When Michael called, there was confusion in his voice. "Third pick, Dad," he said. "2 teams didn't want me." I smiled. "Good," I said. "Now it's time to show them what a huge mistake they made." Michael remembers. That anger, that feeling of rejection. His father was right. That anger fed him for years. Going into every game, he wanted to prove a point to Portland and Houston. He wanted to show he wouldn't live in the shadow of Sam Bowie and Hakeem. But there's something else in the journal. He turns the page. "But I didn't tell Michael the truth. The Chicago Bulls general manager, Adrian, had called me beforehand. 'Mr. Jordan,' he said, 'your son is extraordinary, but he needs someone to guide him. Can you be that guide?' I said yes, and we made a deal. If Chicago picked Michael, I would be with him at every game, every practice, every loss. Because for Michael to succeed, talent alone isn't enough. He needs support. And I will give him that support." Michael freezes. He wasn't expecting this. Adrian, the name doesn't ring a bell, but his father had made an arrangement with Chicago. So his father coming to every game, joining every trip, wasn't a coincidence? The page turns. There's more. Michael will never know this. He shouldn't. Because if he does, he'll think part of his success was because of me. No, this has to be entirely his success. I just need to be a quiet force, a shadow, a wind, invisible, but always there. Michael is crying now. As tears fall onto the pages, he understands every sacrifice, every silent act of support his father made. The championships, the 6 rings, all those victories. Yes, they were his effort, his talent. But behind it all, there was an invisible architect, his father. And his father had never wanted the credit. 1991, the first championship and the hidden tears. Chicago, 1991. The Bulls won the NBA championship for the first time in their history. Michael Jordan lived one of the most iconic moments in history, holding the trophy and collapsing to the floor in tears. But behind those tears, there was a story no one knew. The journal's pages covering that day are fuller than ever. Date: June 12th, 1991. Today, Michael became a champion. His first championship. It took 7 years. For 7 years, we lost to the Detroit Pistons. For 7 years, Michael came to me after every loss. "Why can't I win, Dad?" he said. And every single time, I told him the same thing. "Because you're not ready yet. But soon you will be." Michael remembers those 7 years. The Pistons, the bad boys, the physical game. Every loss was a kind of torture, but his father was always there, always saying the same words. Soon. And today, that soon arrived. When Michael lifted that trophy in his arms, he looked at me. And what I saw in his eyes wasn't just happiness. It was relief, as if he'd finally set down a weight he'd been carrying for years. And I cried too, in a corner where Michael couldn't see me. Because this wasn't just his victory. It was all of ours. It was the end of a journey that began in that little apartment in Brooklyn. Michael holds the page tightly. His father had cried. He never knew that. On that day, in the locker room celebration, his father had looked calm, smiling, but no tears. Or maybe Michael just hadn't seen them. But the truth is in the journal. I didn't want Michael to see it, because this is his moment, his achievement. I'm just a father watching his son. But my heart was so full of pride, it was almost ready to burst. The page turns. Date: June 13th, 1991. The day after. Today Michael said something to me. "Dad, thank you," he said. "For what?" I said. "For everything," he said. There was a clarity in his eyes, as if all the feelings that had built up over the years rose to the surface in that moment. And I told him, "Michael, don't thank me. I thank you, because you proved that the world I dreamed of could actually exist. A kid from Brooklyn made it to the top of the world. And this isn't just your victory. This is the victory of everyone like us." Michael remembers that conversation. The words feel so much heavier now. His father wasn't just talking about a basketball championship. He was talking about something bigger, a dream, a vision. A black family pushing against the limits of a white world and winning. But there's something else on the page, and this part freezes Michael's heart, but I couldn't tell Michael. I received the doctor's report. My heart is weak. My time is shorter than I thought. Maybe a few years, maybe less. But I don't want Michael to know, because if he does, his focus will break. And he needs to win more championships. Not for me, for himself. Michael's breath catches. 1991. His father had known. He had known his heart was weak, and he had stayed silent. To protect Michael. To keep him focused on success. 2 years later, in 1993, his father was killed. Hold on, I need to stop here for a quick reminder. Because this matters. To keep sharing stories like this, I need your support. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. That's how you tell YouTube you love these stories. And that's how I can keep bringing you more. Thank you for being here. Now let's pick up right where we left off. 2 years later, in 1993, his father was killed, but not from heart disease. Michael covers his face with his hands. Tears stream between his palms, because now he understands. His father had already been preparing to die, but fate had written a different ending, and the details of that ending were waiting in the pages ahead. 1993, the final journey and the words left unsaid. July 1993, the journal reaches its heaviest pages. Michael's hands are now trembling uncontrollably, because he knows the next pages will talk about his father's death. And as he reads that journal, he can't know what learning the truth will do to him. Date, July 20th, 1993. 3 championships, 3 years in a row. Michael is being called one of the greatest in history, but I can see that he's tired. In his eyes, there isn't just victory, there's exhaustion too, and I'm worried. Because Michael always wants more. But how long can a person keep running toward the top? Michael remembers that period. He was tired. Every game, every practice, every press conference was a burden, but he couldn't stop, because stopping meant losing. Today I talked to Michael. Maybe you need a break at some point, I said. He looked at me. A break? Dad, I'm at the top right now. How can I stop? He said. Because the top isn't permanent, I said. And if you don't take care of yourself, the top will break you. Michael had never forgotten those words from his father, but he hadn't listened then, because he couldn't. The top was like an addiction. The page turns. Date, July 22nd, 1993. Tomorrow I'm heading out on a long trip. Bryson and I are going to Wilmington to play golf. Then I'll come home. But there's a strange feeling, like something is about to happen. But maybe it's just old age. Maybe it's something my heart is telling me. I don't know. But one thing I do know. If this is my last trip, I need to write down the things Michael needs to know in this journal. Michael's heart stops. Last trip. His father had known. He had felt something. But he had gone anyway. Why? Why had he gone? He turns the page, and there, the words his father wrote in his final hours are waiting. Right now, I'm in the car. It's late at night. I'm tired. But before I get home, I have to write this. Michael, if you're reading this, know that you are my greatest work. Every day, I am proud of you. But at the same time, I worry, because greatness is a gift. But it's also a curse, and you have to find a way to escape that curse. How? By forgiving yourself. Because while you're trying to impress everyone, you're losing yourself. And I don't want you to get lost. Michael is crying out loud now. Because his father was right. For years, he had been trying to impress everyone. His father, the world, himself. But he had never forgiven himself. And his father had wanted him to forgive himself. The page turns. The final lines. In a little while, I'll park the car and sleep. Tomorrow morning, I'll get up early and head home. And I'll call Michael and tell him something. I'll tell him, I am proud of you, and I love you. And whatever you do, know that I am always with you. But first, I need to sleep a little. My eyes are closing, and there it ends. After that page, blank pages. Because James Jordan fell asleep that night and never woke up, Michael sets the journal down in his lap. He buries his face in his hands, and for long, silent minutes, he just cries. Because his father had wanted to say something to him, but never got the chance. And Michael is reading those words 20 years later on a journal page. The journal's hidden pages. A mother's confession. Hours passed. Michael is still sitting with the journal, but now he notices something. After the last pages of the journal, an envelope is tucked in. Brown, old, its corners worn. Written on it, in his mother's handwriting, Michael, Before you open this envelope, you need to be ready. The letter inside isn't from your father. It's from me, and it tells you something you need to know. But after you learn this, you'll see the past differently. If you're ready, open it. Michael's hands begin to tremble again. His mother's letter. Why? Why is there a letter from his mother in his father's journal? He opens the envelope. Inside, a 2-page letter unfolds. His mother's handwriting, neat and clear. He begins to read the letter. Dear Michael, if you've read your father's journal, you already know a great many things. But there's one thing you don't know, and that thing is perhaps the most important. In 1993, on the night your father was killed, there were rumors about your gambling debts. In the media, some people claimed that your father's death was connected to your debts, and you heard those accusations. And those accusations destroyed you. But Michael, here's the truth. Your father's death had nothing to do with your debts. I know this because the police told me every detail. Your father's death was the wrong place and the wrong time. A coincidence, a random event. 2 young men who decided to steal a car, and your father happening to be in that car. But you blamed yourself for years, and I didn't tell you because I knew you wouldn't listen. You were so determined to punish yourself that you didn't even want to hear the truth. But now, you've read your father's journal, and now you can see how much effort your father put in for you. And maybe, now you're ready to forgive yourself, because your father had forgiven you, always, for every mistake, every loss, every moment of weakness, and he wanted you to forgive yourself too. I love you, son. Your mother, Dolores. When Michael finishes the letter, he sits in silence. His mother's words echo through his mind. His father's death hadn't been because of him. It hadn't been because of his gambling debts. It was just a coincidence, but Michael had blamed himself for years. His decision to leave basketball in 1993, his choice to start playing baseball, all of those decisions had come from guilt. And now, 20 years later, he's learning that the guilt was wrong. He closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, and he feels something, lightness, as if a weight he had carried on his shoulders for years is finally dropping away. His father had forgiven him, and now, maybe, he could forgive himself. 2012, rebuilding the legacy. He closes the journal. Chicago's nightlights are still shining outside the windows, but Michael feels different now. Lighter, freer. He picks up his phone, dials a number, his mother's number. After a few rings, his mother's voice. Michael, why are you calling at this hour? Mom? Michael's voice is broken but calm. I read the journal. Silence. Then, a deep breath from his mother. And the letter? Yes. And now, how do you feel? Michael tries to answer, but the words won't come, just tears. Michael? Mom, thank you for giving this to me. His mother's voice is trembling now. Your father had wanted me to give the journal to you, but I waited until you were ready, because I knew that journal would change you. It did. In a good way? Michael looks out the window. The city isn't sleeping, but he now sees it differently, clearer, more meaningful. Yes, Mom, in a good way. He hangs up, and he knows there's something he has to do. Protecting his father's legacy isn't enough. He needs to expand it. He needs to share it. He opens his laptop, creates a document, and begins to write. My father, James Jordan, was not just a father. He was an architect, a visionary, a teacher. And the greatest lesson he ever taught me was this. Greatness is not just about winning. Greatness is about making others win too. Michael keeps writing. Hours pass, and by the time morning comes, he has completed something. A foundation, in his father's name. The James Jordan Foundation. The foundation's mission, to provide underprivileged youth with sports, education, and mentorship. Because his father had mentored him for years, and now, Michael would do the same for thousands of young people. But this is just the beginning. After reading the journal, Michael redefines his legacy. He no longer wants to be remembered just as the greatest basketball player. He wants to be remembered as the greatest human being. And for that, he needs to share the lessons his father taught him with the world. The public announcement, the real story. September 2012, Michael Jordan holds a press conference. The call is unexpected. The media doesn't know why, but the expression on Michael's face is different, softer, more human. He walks onto the stage. He stands at the microphone. The crowd goes quiet. Cameras, flashes, lenses. Everyone is waiting. Michael begins to speak. Good evening. Today, I want to share something with you. Something that no one has known for years. Something I myself only recently learned. The crowd listens with curiosity. My father, James Jordan, was murdered in 1993. That's something everyone knows. But what no one knows is this. Before he died, my father had been writing a journal. And that journal told the story of every detail, every lesson, every sacrifice of my life. Silence. Cameras lock onto Michael's face. Last week, my mother gave me that journal. And every word I read changed me. Because for years, I held myself responsible for my father's death. I thought my mistakes had caused his death. But in the journal, I learned the truth. My father's death was not because of my mistakes. It was a coincidence. And my father had already forgiven me. Michael's voice is trembling, but he keeps going. Today, here, I want to announce something. I am founding the James Jordan Foundation. This foundation will carry my father's name. And just as my father guided me, it will guide thousands of young people. Because my father taught me, greatness is not just about winning. Greatness is about making others win too. Applause. A standing ovation. But Michael isn't finished yet. And one more thing. I will be publishing this journal as a book. My father's words will be shared with the world, because his lessons aren't just for me, they're for everyone. The applause intensifies. As Michael leaves the stage, there are tears in his eyes. But this time, they're tears of happiness, because finally, he is honoring his father's legacy the way it deserves. The foundation and the change. A new generation. The James Jordan Foundation launches its first program. In the Southside neighborhoods of Chicago, hundreds of young people receive free basketball lessons, academic support, and mentorship. And Michael is there every week, in person, talking to the young people, teaching them, passing on what his father had taught him. One day, a young man approaches him. His name is Blaine, 16 years old, lean, tall, high basketball potential. But in his eyes, there is a lostness. "Mr. Jordan," says Blaine, "can I ask you something?" "Of course, Blaine, go ahead. Have you ever felt like you weren't enough?" Michael smiles, because he had asked himself that same question for years. "Every day, Blaine, every single day, I felt like I wasn't enough. But you know what my dad used to tell me? What? Being enough is not a goal, because enough is a word that stops you. But better, that's a word that moves you forward." Blaine thinks about it, then asks, "So how do I get better?" Michael places his hand on Blaine's shoulder. "First, you have to forgive yourself, your past mistakes, your shortcomings, your failures. Then, every day, you have to take a step, a small step. And when those steps add up, one day you'll look back and see that you've come a very long way." A spark appears in Blaine's eyes. "Thank you, Mr. Jordan." "You're welcome, Blaine. And know this, you are not alone. I'm here. The foundation is here, and we want to see you succeed." As Blaine walks away, Michael watches him, and in that moment, he sees his father. The support his father once gave him, he is now giving to someone else. And that is the greatest victory. The book, My Father's Lessons. The book is published. Its title, My Father's Lessons, The Diary of James Jordan. The first week, it's #1 on the bestseller list. The second week, still #1. And by the third week, it's selling millions of copies worldwide. People learn not just Michael Jordan's story, but his father's story too. And that story touches everyone. A reader, a woman named Cassia, writes Michael a letter. "Dear Mr. Jordan, I read your father's journal, and I cried, because my father, just like yours, made silent sacrifices. But I never saw those sacrifices, because I was young. My eyes were closed. But after reading your book, I called my father, and I told him, 'Dad, thank you for everything.' And he cried, and we talked about things we hadn't spoken about in years. Your book isn't just your story, it's all of our stories. Thank you." As Michael reads that letter, his eyes fill with tears, because now he understands. His father's legacy didn't belong just to him, it belonged to the world, and by sharing it, he was touching millions of lives. Another reader, a young father named Devin, sends a video message. "Mr. Jordan, I'm a young dad, and sometimes I don't know how to be a father to my son, but I read your book, and I learned how your father guided you, and now I'm trying to do the same for my son. Every day, I give him little lessons, and I know that one day, he'll look back and understand. Thank you." With every message he receives, Michael comes to understand just how powerful his father's legacy is. His father hadn't just impacted one son, he had impacted an entire generation. 2015, reaching out to old rivals. For years, Michael Jordan had done everything it took to beat his competitors. The Pistons, the Knicks, the Jazz. Against them, he was ruthless. But after reading the journal, something changed. His father's words echoed in his ears. Victory is not defeating your rival. Victory is treating your rival with respect. And Michael makes a decision. He will reach out to his old rivals. He will make peace with them. The first call goes to Isaiah Thomas, the legendary player of the Detroit Pistons. Michael and Isaiah had been enemies for years. The Bad Boys era was filled with physical and emotional battles, and Michael had never forgiven Isaiah. But now, he picks up the phone. Isaiah? Michael, is that you? Yeah, it's me. I want to talk to you. Silence. Then Isaiah's stunned voice. Of course, Michael, I'm listening. Isaiah, for years I treated you like an enemy, and I know you treated me the same way. But now, I think differently, because I read my father's journal, and my father taught me, rivals are not enemies. Rivals are the people who make you better. And you made me better, Isaiah. That's why I want to thank you. Isaiah holds the silence for a long time. Then, his voice trembling, Michael, I don't know what to say, but thank you. You saying these words means a great deal to me. And one more thing, Isaiah. I'm starting a program at my foundation, bringing former rivals together to mentor young people. Can we do this together? Isaiah's voice is now full of warmth. Absolutely, Michael. Count me in. And so it happens. In 2015, the James Jordan Foundation launches the From Rivals to Mentors program. Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, and many other former rivals come together to mentor young people. And the media calls it Michael Jordan's greatest victory, because now, he's winning not just on the court, but off it too. A mother's final words. The legacy is complete. Dolores Jordan is 80 years old. Her health is good, but the signs of age are there. One day, she calls Michael to her home, Wilmington, North Carolina, the house where childhood was spent. When Michael arrives at his mother's house, he finds her in the garden. She's sitting in the old swing, a cup of tea in her hand. Mom, Michael, come, sit. Michael sits beside her. Quietly, they swing together in silence. Then his mother begins to speak. Michael, when I gave you your father's journal, I didn't know what would happen, but now I can see. You are carrying your father's legacy in a remarkable way. Mom, if you hadn't given me that journal, I'd still be lost. No, Michael, you were never lost. You were just searching for the path, and your father showed you that path. Michael looks at his mother. There is a peace in her eyes. Mom, I want to ask you something. Why did my father leave the journal for me? Why not for you or my brothers and sisters? His mother smiles. Because you were your father's greatest project. You were the person who made his dream real, and he knew that you would carry that dream to others as well. Michael nods. And now, I am. Yes, son. And your father, right now, is watching you from above, and he is smiling. Tears stream down both of their faces. But this time not from grief, from happiness. Because the legacy is complete. James Jordan's vision has come true, and Michael is no longer just a basketball legend. He is a father, a mentor, a visionary. 2020, the pandemic and new understanding. The COVID-19 pandemic grips the world. Everything stops. Sports, entertainment, businesses. But instead of stopping, Michael Jordan takes action. During the pandemic, the James Jordan Foundation provides thousands of families with assistance, food, medical supplies, financial support. And Michael personally meets with many of these families, over Zoom, over the phone, through letters. One day, he meets with a family from the south side of Chicago. The father has lost his job, the mother has fallen ill, and 3 children are stuck at home. As Michael talks with them, he sees a helplessness on the father's face. And in that moment, he remembers his own father, those hard times in Brooklyn, unemployment, fear, but hope. Mr. Blaze, says Michael, I know things are hard right now, but I want to tell you something. This is not an ending. This is just a chapter. And you will get through this chapter because you have your family, and family is stronger than anything. Blaze, his eyes filling with tears. Mr. Jordan, do you really believe that? We're just ordinary people. A deep understanding settles across Michael's face. Mr. Blaze, my father was an ordinary man too. He was a factory worker, but he didn't turn his ordinariness into an excuse. He turned it into a strength. And now, I'm telling you the same thing. You are not ordinary. You are a father fighting for his family. And that is the most extraordinary thing there is. On the screen, Blaze's expression shifts. The helplessness slowly turns to hope. Our foundation will help you, but more importantly, you will help yourself. because strength doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. After the call, Michael closes his laptop and looks out the window. Chicago is quiet under the pandemic, but he sees it differently now. Behind every window, there is a family. In every family, there is a struggle, and he wants to be a part of their struggle, because his father had taught him, greatness is not measured only by your own victories. It is measured by your contribution to the victories of others. 2023, the documentary and its worldwide impact. Netflix announces a documentary, The Jordan Legacy, A Father's Gift. The documentary focuses on James Jordan's journal, Michael's transformation, and the foundation's impact. The director, after lengthy conversations, convinced Michael to take part. Michael resisted at first, but eventually agreed. Because the story isn't just his, it belongs to everyone. During the filming of the documentary, Michael visits his father's grave on camera for the very first time. Wilmington Memorial Park, a sunny afternoon. Michael kneels in front of the grave. In his hands, his father's journal. "Dad," he says, his voice broken but strong. "When I first got the journal, I was angry. Angry that you didn't give it to me sooner. But now I understand. Because I wasn't ready. For years, I used greatness like a suit of armor, to keep people at a distance. But you wanted me to break through that armor. And your journal broke it. The wind moves through the trees. The leaves rustle, as if his father is answering. And now, I carry your legacy. But it doesn't feel heavy anymore. Because now I know. I'm not alone. You're with me always. In every step I take, every decision I make, every piece of advice I give to a young person." Michael places the journal on the grave. Then he rests his forehead against the headstone. "Thank you, Dad, for everything. And I promise, the journey you started, I will carry it forward forever." The camera captures that moment, Michael sitting in silence. And in that silence, viewers hear 1,000 things. The documentary premieres in 2023. In the first week, 45 million views. By the second week, 120 million. And by the third week, it becomes the most watched documentary in the world. Critics describe the documentary as the most moving sports story in history. But Michael knows it's not just a sports story. It's a story about a father and a son. A story about legacy. A story about transformation. The Foundation's 10th anniversary. The 2023 celebration. October 2023. The James Jordan Foundation's 10th anniversary. A spectacular gala is held in Chicago. Thousands of guests, athletes, politicians, business leaders, and most importantly, the thousands of young people and families who have benefited from the foundation. When Michael walks onto the stage, the crowd rises to its feet, but he raises his hand, quieting them. "Tonight is not just a celebration," says Michael, his voice filling the room. "Tonight is a night for making promises. 10 years ago, I read my father's journal, and that journal changed me. But the change wasn't just for me. The change was for all of us." The crowd listens in silence. Over the past 10 years, this foundation has reached more than 50,000 young people. We gave them sports, education, and mentorship. But more importantly, we gave them something else: belief. Belief in themselves, belief in their future, and belief in their dreams. Michael gestures to the back of the stage, and there, 20 young people walk out. Each one has been touched by the foundation. Each one is now in college, in a career, or working at their own foundation. These young people are the continuation of my father's legacy. They are the next generation's James Jordans, and I am proud of every one of them. One of the young people, a young woman named Bethany, steps forward. She takes the microphone. "Mr. Jordan," she says, her voice trembling but determined. "When I joined this foundation 10 years ago, I was a lost kid. My dad was in prison. My mom was working 2 jobs, and I felt invisible. But you saw me, and you told me, 'Bethany, you are not invisible. You are a star. You just haven't shined yet.' And that day, something changed. I started to shine." Bethany's eyes are full of tears. "And now, I'm a social worker. And every single day, I do for other children what you did for me, because that is how a legacy lives on. From one person to the next. From one generation to the next." The room erupts in applause. Michael pulls Bethany into a hug, and in that moment, he hears his father's voice, that familiar voice echoing in his ears. "Michael, greatness is not measured only by your own victories. It is measured by your contribution to the victories of others." And Michael understands now. His father hadn't raised him just to be a basketball player. He had raised him to be a leader, a vision, a legacy. 2025, A legacy passed down to grandchildren. Michael Jordan's grandchildren are growing up. And Michael, now as a grandfather, is doing for his grandchildren what his father once did for him. One evening, his granddaughter, little Jasmine, comes to him. 8 years old, a basketball in her hands. "Grandpa, will you teach me basketball?" Michael smiles. "Of course, Jasmine, come on." They head out to the backyard. Michael shows Jasmine how to hold the ball, how to shoot, how to dribble. But then he stops, and he looks at Jasmine. "Jasmine, I want to tell you something about your great-great-grandfather." "Great-great-grandpa James?" "Yes, he taught me something, and now I want to teach it to you." Jasmine listens with curiosity. "He told me, Michael, basketball is not just a game. Basketball is a reflection of life. You win, you lose. You fall, you get back up. But the one thing that matters is you never give up. And now, I'm telling you the same thing, Jasmine. Whatever you do in this life, never give up." Jasmine nods, her face serious. "I promise, Grandpa." Michael takes Jasmine in his arms, and in that moment, he feels the completion of a cycle. Great-great-grandpa James had taught him. He had taught the world, and now he was teaching his granddaughter, Jasmine. That was how the legacy carried on, generation to generation, in an endless cycle. 2026, a final reflection. February 2026. Michael Jordan is now 63 years old. His hair has gone white. His face is lined with wrinkles. But in his eyes, there is still that fire. He sits alone in his Chicago penthouse. In his hands, his father's journal. 14 years ago, when he first read this journal, his life had changed. And now, he reads it again. Because with every reading, he learns something new. He turns the pages. His father's handwriting, still fresh, still alive, as if it was written yesterday. And he reaches the last page. His father's final words. "Michael, if you're reading these lines, it means I'm gone. But don't be sad, because I will never truly be gone. I will be there in your every step, in every victory, in every loss. Because a father never abandons his son, not even in death. And one more thing, Michael. You are my greatest work. But your work is just beginning, because you will leave works behind in the lives of others. And those works will carry on through generations. This is the power of legacy. This is the power of love. And this is the greatest gift a father can give his son. I love you, Michael. Forever. Your father, James Jordan." Michael closes the journal. He wipes his eyes, and he looks out the window. Chicago is fully awake now. The city lights cut through the darkness and shine. And Michael understands something. His father was right. Legacy doesn't live only in the past. Legacy lives in the present and in the future. Every day there is a young person whose life is changed through the foundation. Every day a father is teaching his son or daughter the lessons Michael learned. Every day the world becomes a slightly better place. And that is James Jordan's legacy. Invisible, yet everywhere. Silent, yet powerful. Immortal. Michael gets to his feet. He steps out onto the balcony. The wind brushes his face, and he looks up toward the stars. "Thank you, Dad," he whispers, "for everything. And I promise, I will keep your legacy alive forever." The wind picks up as if in answer, and Michael smiles because he knows that somewhere out there, his father is watching him and smiling. The James Jordan Foundation no longer operates only in Chicago. It operates around the world. Offices have opened in 75 countries. Hundreds of thousands of young people have been reached, and in every single one, the same message is repeated. You are not invisible. You are a star. You just haven't shined yet. Michael Jordan appears less and less on basketball courts these days, but more and more he appears beside young people, in schools, at conferences, at the foundation. And everywhere he goes, he reads a page from his father's journal, because those pages are not just the story of the past, they are a guide for the future. One day, a journalist asks Michael, "Mr. Jordan, you've won 6 NBA championships. You are the greatest basketball player in history. But what are you most proud of today?" Michael answers without hesitation, "Carrying my father's legacy. Because championships one day are forgotten, but a father's love lasts forever. And the foundation? Is that your father's legacy too?" "No," says Michael, a glimmer in his eyes. "The foundation is the beginning of my father's legacy. But the real legacy lives in the life of every young person that foundation has touched. When they grow up, they will do the same for others. And it will go on like that, forever." The journalist smiles. So your father didn't just raise you, he started a movement. Michael nods. Yes, and the most beautiful part is this. He did it knowingly. In every journal page, every lesson, every silent sacrifice, he was planting a seed. And now, those seeds are growing into trees all around the world. Midnight. Michael is back in his penthouse, but this time, he's not alone. Beside him, his son Marcus, and his granddaughter Jasmine. Dad, says Marcus, will you read us a page from great-great-grandpa James's journal? Michael smiles. Of course, son. He opens the journal. Jasmine is sitting on his lap. Marcus is beside him, and Michael begins to read. His father's voice comes to life in the words. It fills the room, and with that voice, the past, the present, and the future come together as one. When the reading ends, Jasmine looks up at Michael. Grandpa, great-great-grandpa James was so wise. Yes, Jasmine, he was very wise, and he loved you so much. Michael's eyes fill with tears. Yes, he loved me very much. Grandpa, says Jasmine in a serious voice, I love you so much too. And one day, when I grow up, I'm going to help someone the way you do. Michael pulls Jasmine close. I know, Jasmine. I know. Because you are the continuation of the legacy. And in that moment, Michael sees the full circle of everything. Great-great-grandpa James had taught him. He had taught the world. Now the world was teaching Jasmine. And one day, Jasmine would teach someone else. The legacy was endless like that. Michael closes the journal for the last time that night. But this time, there is a peace about it, because now he knows the journal doesn't belong to him alone. The journal belonged to the world, and the world had embraced it. He takes one last look out the window. Chicago isn't sleeping, but he is at peace. Good night, Dad, he whispers. And thank you for teaching me not just basketball, but life. For teaching me not just how to win, but how to love. And for teaching me not just how to be a champion, but how to be a human being. The wind blows one final time, and Michael hears his father's voice. I'm always with you, son. Always. And Michael, smiling, walks out of the room. Because the story hadn't ended. The story was just beginning. Every day, a young person joins the James Jordan Foundation. Every day, a father gives his son a lesson in fatherhood. Every day, a legacy moves one step further. And Michael Jordan is not remembered as the greatest basketball player in history. He is remembered as the greatest carrier of a legacy in history. Because 6 rings, one day, will rust. But love, never. 6 championships, one day, will be forgotten. But a father's lessons, never. And James Jordan's journal may one day become a yellowed old book. But the words inside it will live forever. From generation to generation. From heart to heart. Forever. This story is not just Michael Jordan's story. It is the story of every father, every son, every daughter. It is the story of invisible sacrifices, silent lessons, and endless love. James Jordan was a factory worker, but his legacy touched millions. Because he had understood one thing. The greatest legacy is not money, not gold, not fame. The greatest legacy is touching another person's life. And you, as the viewer, are now standing at a choice. You can hear this story and forget it, or you can take this story and carry it into your own life. You can mentor a young person. You can teach a child. You can help a family. Because a legacy is not built with grand gestures. It's built with small moments. James Jordan started with a journal. You can start with a single step. And who knows, maybe one day your story will change someone else's life. So, what will your legacy be? Share your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. And most importantly, share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because a legacy grows when it's shared. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.